Fine. Now, okay, Amal, okay, Pooja, nice. So we are done till this. Now we'll be looking into the stages of disaster. This might individually come as a section. Okay. So this has been taken from the textbook by Professor B.S. Chavan sir, Community Psychiatry. Okay. Now let's start. Summary of disaster phases. So there are five phases, but remember, okay, let's keep it like this. Phase, but phase start with -1. Okay, it doesn't start with 1, it starts with -1. Remember it. 0. Okay, we'll just look into why it is called as -1 and not 1. 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now see, please be with me with on in this table. Okay, so this is called as the pre-disaster phase. The disaster hasn't occurred yet. There are subtle signs and symptoms that has been caught by the Meteorological Society, be it of India or be it of other place. They have started informing the local government and the local bodies who take care of these issues. This is called as pre-disaster and also called as the warning phase. Nothing has happened as of now, okay? But there is a warning that is going on. Now, 0 is the place from where disaster happens. So strikes from 0. Disaster strikes from 0 and just and look, this is the early phase of disaster. So 0 is immediately after the onset. Now see, warning has set in. You all are, suppose we all are into a phase where disaster is going on and warning has set in. Okay, suppose we are in the coastal regions and there is a uh, cyclone that is approaching. We have all got the warning. Fine. Now what happens, like, it is the time and the place that has been decided. The cyclone came, it hits the shore, and ultimately what is happening is, what we are experiencing is phase 0. Now here, if you want to help, the help won't come from outside because that will need a commodity. There will be logistic issues involved. So the help will come from inside. That is why this phase is also called as before outside help. Okay. Now it moves to early post disaster. Now here is the phase. Always remember, number one is the phase where active outside help is available. Now we are able to get the medicines, we are able to get the food, blanket, water, essential medications. Okay. Now this is, so early stage has passed on. We'll come to the time frame also, don't worry. Now we have recent post disaster phase. And recent post disaster is passive outside help. Last phase is your remote post disaster. And here the community has become self sufficient such that they can cope up with the ongoing disaster. And this is something which in which you will see that no outside help is needed. Okay. Now, I hope all of these five stages are clear. Remember, it doesn't start with one. Okay. Always and always keep this in mind. Now we'll look into some of the important aspects of these stages individually. We'll write it in the table form only. Okay. Coming to the time frame. Time is important. Now see, as far as time is concerned, what are the time? See, time, it ranges from days to hours. This one. For this, it is hours to days, because based on the level of the impact, the time will be decided. Okay. Now, early post disaster, it is now in weeks or months. It's easy. Hours to days, days to weeks, weeks to months, months to years, and years. Now, next is very important that we are coming. Here we have to note the psychosocial manifestation. Each stage has a different set of psychosocial manifestation which we should know. Then when we'll be discussing the disaster mental health stages, it will be easy for us to correlate. Okay. Psychosocial manifestation, if you look, so if there is a warning, suppose we all are there will be apprehension. That is very obvious. There will be restlessness and helplessness. Coming to hours to days or the disaster early phase, there will be acute stress reaction. There can be anxiety. Okay, there can be something which is known as reduced. Okay, these are the three things in this phase. Anxiety is noted. Then we have grief reaction. We can have something which is known as depression, panic, depersonalization, derealization. These are seven most common thing. Okay, confused behavior, death wish, grief, guilt, all can come. All the symptoms of depression can come during this phase. Okay, now in this stage, the early post disaster, adjustment reaction can come. And all these things can continue. All these things will continue. What will be the additional one? We'll write it down. PTSD is one of the additional things. Insomnia is very common over here. Plus substance use, it increases. Remember over this place. Three things that you should know. And one thing is increase suicidality. In recent post disaster, if you look, all the symptom of this will be here. Early post disaster. In addition, you can write two things, that is poverty related issue and abuse of vulnerable population. Okay. And last, all these things can be here, whatever is being mentioned on the previous one. But again, two things, school absenteeism, because the children has lost his or her mother, father. There will be foster families also. Now see, your role is changing when according to the phase of the disaster. That is why this is first thing that you should know. Okay, there can be personality change, that can be manifestation of, okay, school dropouts will be there, relationship issue. Fine. So if you keep looking like this, it will be easy for you to understand this table. Okay. Now see, if we look, we'll be able to address some of the important aspects. What are those? See, activity. Let's look into what are the activities that is required for each of the stages. Okay. I hope it is not going that boring. We're able to understand. It's a very off topic, but nobody is like interested in looking into this because, but when it comes an exam paper, it will be difficult for everyone to compile it because it is really boring, but it is of utmost importance. Okay. Now see, coming to the activity. Now, activity means what are the various type of action that could be taken place in each and every step. So, in the warning or the pre-disaster, what can be done? So, this is the phase warning and the pre-disaster. What we can do? Simply personal and community preparation and evacuation. So, what usually happens is like upon a typhoon or a cyclone is coming, what is being usually advised if you listen to the radio or the TV, they say that prepare a plastic packet in which you put in some of the food essentials, medications, a blanket, a fresh bottle of water, a torch. These are the things that you should be able to assemble it and keep it. And if possible, fill up your bathtub, your bucket with water so that if there is disruption of water flow, you should be able to get enough water so that you can sustain for 1 or 2 days. Okay, these are the various kind of recommendation that is given. So in activity, what can be done is, see, simple, personal and community preparation and evacuation can be done. Okay, this is important. Now, if the disaster has hit, what you will be doing? Saving self and others. Next, active help to other. And the very important word here is, this is also called as heroic phase. Remember it. Next, looking into the early post disaster, what can be done? So, realization of loss, assessment of loss. Okay, need of relief. And very important point over here is the second disaster. In this phase, all action to be done to cater specific needs of victims. So suppose if someone has what do you mean second disaster? So second disaster is, we'll understand second disaster in a while. Just keep the flow going on. You'll be able to understand. Don't worry. You'll understand what is second disaster, what is heroic phase, what does it mean. So don't worry. Okay. Now here is the rehabilitative work which will continue in the last phase. Okay. Now we'll look into what are the help agencies that are involved, and then we'll follow up with the mental health cycle. Up till this, is it clear? Take your time, write it down. I'm not in a hurry. I just want all of you to get into this. What is there? What is the importance of each and every stage? We could have easily provided the table so and could have just, you know, marked over it. But if you write it, if you go through it, you'll be able to understand the essence of each and every stage. Fine. If you are done, just let me know. Done? Okay, okay, fine. So see, all of these things are done. Now we'll look into what are the help agencies. So your role doesn't start in the pre-disaster phase. Remember it. So the initial one, the help agency is the radio, TV. That is the communication medium. Okay, that is something which is taking care of it. Okay, and if evacuation is needed, evacuation committees or evacuation agencies are there set up by the National Disaster Control Authority. Okay, NDRI and other things are there. There is no role of any healthcare professional over here. Now, here is in the early phase or the immediate phase, you have family, neighbor who comes and helps. Now, the last three things here is the time when the role starts. Okay, disaster workers and the support of mental health professional starts over here in phase 1. Now, here you have community workers. The role of mental health professional is there. In last stage also, the role of mental health professional is there. You need allied helps from the social worker. So in both of them, you need social and the community workers. Okay, this is done. Just one thing we can add, intervention, and then this table will be complete. If we look into the intervention, you'll write one word, important word. Here is the information that is important. Here you need rescue and resuscitation. You need something which is called as a group or individual treatment or therapy or group or individual treatment, and the same continues over here also in both the two stage. So this is the whole chart of disaster phases. Now we'll be looking into mental health professional and Bhavya, then we'll be able to understand what is the second disaster. Before moving into that, we should know about the 6 R's. Okay, if you're done writing, let's move ahead. Let's look into what are the 6 R's, and then we'll look into the role of mental health professionals or the disaster mental health phases. Just let me know if you're done. I'm trying to make it, see, it's a very dry topic, but let's keep the flow going. Okay. Now, see. 6 hours. What are these 6 hours? 6 hours is taken from the preventive aspect. Okay, so disaster mental health. Now, here the topic proper starts with disaster mental health. Till now, we were reading the basics of disaster. Remember, recently we had this disaster over there, earthquake came in Thailand. Okay, you must have seen the videos and all. Now, 6 hours is reflective of preventive mental health. What are 6 hours? See, the first hour is readiness. Important thing that you have to be ready. That is also known as preparedness. You have to be ready for anything that can happen in the time of during the time of disaster. Okay, followed by that you have something. The first R is readiness. You have to be ready. Then you have to respond. So there should be a response. Okay, and the response is related to the immediate action. After the response is done, you will have now, since you have responded well, now you'll have something called as relief measures that you should take. Relief means sustained rescue support or sustained rescue work. And then we have rehabilitation. Now, rehabilitation, it means that long term remedial procedures are taking place. So rehabilitation is going on and it's a long lasting process. It takes time. And then you have recovery. That is return to normalcy. Even and this is these two steps. If someone asks, you can't decide by the time. Still, the event happened. That is the dropping up of nuclear bomb over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The aftermath is still seen. People are still upset. Those who are alive, some of them are alive. Most of them have died. They are still able to recall the events, and ultimately they have the problem. Okay, psychological problem, psychiatric issues are still there with them. So it takes time. Normalcy here doesn't mean social one. Okay, the trauma, both the things should be normal. Socially, it is easy to achieve the normalcy. You restore everything, every services and amenities which was there previously, and you are able to construct the society as far as the requirement and the resources are concerned. You'll build the hospital, you'll build the school, library, grocery shop, everything is done. Water, electricity is restored. But what about the individual itself? So it takes time. Recovery, return to normalcy is not that easy. Okay, that is why it is important for us to understand that it might be difficult to gain complete normalcy, but still the road to progress should continue. And the last one is resilience. Resilience means fostering. One, two, three, four, five, six. Okay. Now, one thing I would like to ask all of you, altruism is a mature defense mechanism, isn't it? All of you, any one of you, please. Don't be shy in replying. I won't bite you. Okay. So, usually, if you look, altruism is noted over here. This one, this phase, immediately after effect, altruism is at peak. That is why this phase is called as heroic phase. Okay. Now, let's go into the phases of disaster mental health. Okay. Till this we are done. Let's start with the phases of disaster mental health. Okay. I'll start in the fresh one. Now, the first thing is, now see, here it is a bit different. So just draw a straight line. Okay. Now see, now just be with me. First, look at this. You'll be able to understand. Fine. Now, here is the first thing that is going to hit. Okay, this is the timeline, and here is the disaster that has occurred. So, disaster has occurred over here, and now you know that what will increase? There will be emotions that will increase. All the kind of emotions can be there, but it will increase. So, there will be gradual increase in the emotion. Now, as soon as the disaster phase it comes, there is, okay, let's start. Okay, here is the first phase is the heroic phase. This till this peak. This is the heroic phase where the emotions are too much high. You are ready to help your neighbors, your family members, your relatives to such an extent that you're ready to die for them. Okay, so this phase is known as heroic phase. Okay, now here there is something that you need to do right from this stage. Okay, we'll come. Let's cover up the graph first. Then what will happen is like this will last for, this is around a week. Now, there will be subtle drop of emotions and a constant emotional state will be there. Okay, because the activity or the help, active help has come from the outside. So now there is a help or a mechanism has been laid such that the government or the other people from the other parts of the country is able to help the needy population. So this is called as the honeymoon phase. Okay, honeymoon phase. Here you are less concerned than the earlier phase, and remember that it lasts for 2 to 4 weeks. We'll write down the meaning of each phase, so don't worry. Just be with me. Now what will happen is gradually this will settle down. Emotions will settle down. Okay, it might be possible that it might increase in between. Okay, it might increase in between, and this is called as the disillusionment phase. Disillusionment phase. Now, what is happening is honeymoon phase, you have enough. You have monetary support that is given by the government. You have some, see, people usually get monetary support. Government is ready to help them out. So, honeymoon phase is associated with lots of benefit that comes to the society as a form of uh, compensation that government gives for the loss. But after the relief material and resources are provided, gradually it starts weaning, and you then start realizing that okay, that is why this disillusionment phase. Okay, now please do understand, disillusion, it creates a false illusion, this honeymoon phase, that everything is going to be normal. You have everything, your land, your house, your resources, everything, but that is not true. Remember, just let's go above and look at this. When we were discussing this realization of loss, that should be done, assessment of loss. Because initially, if you get 10 lakh rupees, you'll be like, okay, I'll be able to build my home again, I'll be able to bring my shop, everything will come. But later on, what is important is you need to know that the VIP, the politicians all stop visiting after a certain period of time. The monetary grants that are given by the government also stops. And gradually, the social media and the media coverage also weans off. Administration, relief agencies, the NGO involvement starts fading out. This bring the survivors of the disaster to the ruthless world of post-disaster life. That is why it is called as an illusion, which is being set in the honeymoon phase. Every disaster has this kind of phase which happens. That is why this early post-disaster phase is very important, where realization of loss should be done. Okay, now coming to the second disaster, every every possibility is there that there can be something which is known as the waterborne disease or break of fever or any other infectious disease which can happen during this period of time, because the hygiene, the availability of fresh water, okay, oral the fecal contamination of water, the loss of vitamin that happens during this period because of malnourishment, all of this is pretty common in early post disaster phase. That is why it is also called as a phase where you are sitting on the top of the volcano, and anytime a volcano can erupt, you can see cholera outbreak that is happening after, just after the disaster has taken place. Okay, you can see that multiple people are having fever. Okay, these infectious diseases are pretty common in them. Typhoid is there. That is why it is called as second disaster is awaiting, because now your resources are limited. Okay, now after this, you are able to assess the reality that whatever government, whatever media personnel, whatever VIP politicians were there, now they are not visiting your place. Now, this is the reality of the complex process of rebuilding and rehabilitation, which we have mentioned over here. That is why these phases are so important. One should realize that what is the loss that he or she is having. Suppose all of us are a family and we lost our home. Okay, and the house has been broken. Initially we got 20 lakh rupee 5 lakh rupees each. So like 13 of us are here, so we'll be getting 65 lakh rupees. We felt very happy that we'll be able to build everything, but we don't have anything, no resources as of now. Gradually we start investing to buy food. Everything will be expensive during that time because your local area won't be producing it, it will be provided from outside. What will happen, gradually you'll realize that okay, now everything is getting, the money that you have got is now getting, the expenditure is too much. Whatever you have thought, that is not been acquired. This is the problem which happens. Okay, now this disillusionment phase will continue for, we'll write it down, don't worry, just wanted to explain you to, it will continue for 2 to 36 months. And whenever there is an anniversary, there will be heightening of these emotions. And remember, your work is, this phase, your work is something which you should, you know, your role is of utmost importance during disillusionment phase. Everyone will leave, but this is the time for you to enter. Last is the restoration phase. And it can continue. We don't know the end of it. Now, here, what are your actions that you need to do? I hope till this it is clear. Heroic phase, honeymoon phase. We'll write the importance of it. Heroic phase, why heroic, why honeymoon, why disillusionment, why restoration. Okay, but all of you are clear with this. This has been taken from Young's et al. Young et al. A very classic article by Young et al. It's very old one, 1998, but it is of, it is a very classic article which has described it and has been taken and has been quoted by multiple authors till date. So this is very important. Okay, now let's look into what are the various aspects of our treatment in this. So first of all, let's look into that. The first thing first is this phase when emotions are rising. Okay, the next one is still the honeymoon phase. Okay, please be with me. Don't. Next is still this, and then we have, okay, we'll use a different color. Fine. So let's write down what does each stage means. So here it is promotive. That will be done by rest of the people. Here it is preventive. Curative. and preparedness. These are the various steps that has to be taken for with each of these advancing stages. Now, your role doesn't end over here. From this phase onwards till here, you need to add on an added layer of treatment. What is that? Stress management. Of whom? The relief worker. Because they will be overburdened. Take your time, draw it. I'll write what does heroic, honeymoon, disillusionment, and restoration phase means. But this is of utmost important. Once you are done, just let me know, okay? Take your time. I want these things to be there with you. No one will, what we are doing is something, all of us is something that that will be there for us forever. Okay, these things you won't have to go again, do it. Okay, so don't worry. We'll complete everything. Okay, done. Let's write down what does the each phase mean. Heroic phase, why it is called as heroic phase. Now here, this is that phase where honeymoon phase. Why? Because you have monetary grants, media coverage, political limelight. What is this? Decrease in focus, decrease media coverage, politically. All thing will reduce. And restoration, important thing is see, restoration, it is based on the risk factors. Now, see, some people can have good risk factors. Some people can have, are more vulnerable to develop psychiatric morbidities post disaster. Some might be having less. So, let's look into what are these risk factors that we are talking about. Okay, these are the risk factors that has to be dealt. Okay, these